Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. We're your hosts. I'm Sybil Amuti.
And I'm Brandis Daniel.
And before we jump into this week's episode of the podcast, make sure you sign up for our newsletter at
thegreatgirlfriends.com.
And don't forget to leave us an amazing iTunes review.
Yes, that is the payment for listening to this podcast.
I love it. 5 stars all the way. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Great Girlfriends, you are in for, I promise you, the sweetest dessert treat ever, because we have on today a guest that is, I don't even want to call you magic. I just want to call you brilliance and beauty across the board. Miss Sheri Salata, who is chief storyteller at Pillar Life, and one of the dreamiest women you will ever have the pleasure of meeting. So, Sheri, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, we're so excited to have you.
Oh my gosh, I'm finally here with you. My fave. I'm so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you, Sheri. So Sheri is someone that, listen, we met her virtually as we all watched All the Marvelous Years at the Oprah show, where Sheri and her team did an amazing job of producing a show that we all just kind of fell in love with. And we grew to understand ourselves and our stories, and we desired to just become more passionate about the life we were living. And at those moments, I guess we all saw the 20th anniversary, where we saw this really gorgeous woman with this beautiful, bright blonde hair. And I think it's your cherry lipstick, right? Your favorite cherry, your cherry lip color.
Oh my God, that's funny.
She was the one. She was the superhuman that had made it all come to life. And so she was the one. And so, Sheri, you've taken what I considered and what you have described as a dream life and dream career, and you have evolved into another space as a content and storyteller, and now written this book that I've been salivating over for the past couple of weeks.
Yay. Oh my gosh, that is music to my ears. Yes, I mean, there is no question. The funny thing is, my friends, a lot of people think I graduated from college, hatched out of an egg, and landed in the Emerald City. Also
That's
known
what I
as
thought, Sheri.
The Oprah Winfrey Show. But no, my friends, that is not the truth, which is why I think, there are people out there who can relate to my story, which is I did not start working at the Oprah Show until I was 35 years old in an entry-level position. And I had already had so many crazy jobs and career fits and starts, so many failures, so many do-overs. I was broke as could be. And so it was not a straight shot to success for me by any means, my friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Isn't that something? For any one of you that's been a 7-Eleven employee, I promise you, you're going to be so inspired by this story because Sheri, I don't think there was a stone you left unturned. I think that you went wherever you could possibly find an opportunity. Is that true? Safe to say?
That is true. That was one of the things where I didn't have my spiritual foundation together. Like, I didn't understand that I needed to make happiness my compass. Instead, misery was my compass. And I would just go okay, I'll try this. Now I'm a toy store assistant manager. Now I'm a typist. Now I'm a head typist. Now I'm a toy store manager with a big ring of keys. Okay, well, I'm not good at retail. I don't really love it, but why don't I go learn how to run a 7-Eleven store in Dallas, Texas, deliver a baby in the parking lot, learn how to clean a Slurpee machine, which is no easy task, my friend, and then run a bunch of 7-Eleven stores. I mean, it was just crazy pants. I just went from thing to thing. And the thing for me is, instead of listening to what my heart was telling me, instead of taking those moments and saying, does this make you happy? Are you feeling, is your whole inner life, rising up at this, whatever you're doing in this given moment? I would never ask myself those questions. I would just try to make it work. I'm going to make this work. I would take every little diddly and do of a job and try to turn it into my path to retirement. And, and not willing to leave it until I was so miserable I couldn't get out of bed. So for all those years, misery was my compass. And I was probably sitting in the midst of the Oprah show when I said, you know what? Happiness is the better direction. When you make happiness your compass, my friends, all across the board, your whole life, you are just, happiness is my compass. Happiness is my compass. Am I choosing happiness here? Does this feel uplifting? Does this feel like part of my joyride? Am I creating my personal recipe for my joyride? It's a very different life experience, that's for sure.
I love that. What were you searching for during those years? Because I think what our great girlfriends are going to love so much, because Sheri, I was one of those people who thought, Sheri, I saw you during the anniversary special. And I said, oh, she must have just, she's always been a star. And of course she would land at the Oprah Winfrey show. But during those years and reading your book, I said, dang, I can see myself in her story. Like, oh, yeah, I had that moment. I call this block of years for me the wonder years, where I was just trying to figure my life out. Nice. And I feel like, you had the wonder years. What were you searching for during the wonder years? What was, outside of misery being kind of your compass, what was it that you were trying to achieve during that time?
Well, first of all, I applaud you for calling yours the wonder years. Mine was, I had different words for mine at the time, because I would not say I was very happy during those years of mine. And that is the correct framing. You're absolutely right. Here's the truth. I wanted a couple things. I wanted a business card with a snappy title. I wanted to be someone. I wanted a sexy job filled with creativity and glamour, and on a deeper level, which I didn't identify for many years, what I was really searching for was meaning. I wanted, I'd been producing since I was old enough to boss my cousins around. So, I've been a producer, in many capacities in various iterations, all my life. And I knew I liked to organize and create and innovate and envision things and bring them to life. And, hey, let's put on a show. I'll make the curtains. You bring the lights. That was really my jam. But what was really underneath that was I really wanted meaning. So even once I got the big break and I was an agency producer producing television commercials, after several years, I was like, do I care about hairspray? I mean, I'm putting my heart and soul into this. My heart and soul, every bit of talent I have is going into this. But do I care about hairspray? And some people, and I do love branding, but I was missing something that went deeper for me. I needed that meaning piece. And I had been, and I knew in Chicago, there was a big bunch of meaning over at that Harpo Studios. And, I had hoped someday I could end up there.
Wow. And so it wasn't just, hope, I would say. There was a saving day where I think it was your best friend's husband or fiance that came to take you to lunch and kind of pull you out of your 9 to 5, which at that time was soap operas and wrinkly pajamas, as I read.
Yes. I mean, that really was my first big break. Her fiance was an executive producer, and he hired me as his secretary. That's what we were back in that day, and really taught me how to produce, and encouraged me. Once I started to stir the pot on that Oprah show dream, he encouraged me to apply, which they promptly rejected me. They promptly rejected me, and I never would have applied again. That really is the truth.
Wow. But with that rejection came a whole other bowl of opportunity and like a well of a story. I mean, the chapters were ultimately written beyond that no, which you describe as the beautiful no, which is ultimately how the chapters of the book were formed.
That's right. I mean, listen, my life and my experiences are both a cautionary tale and a rallying cry. Because if I can sort this out, anybody can. And I'm still sorting it out. I'm still saying to myself, and even after, so I got the job at the Oprah show, entry-level position. It was a twist of fate, bunch of miracles that landed me there. And, after 20 years, I got to be executive producer of the show. I got to be co-president of Harpo Studios and OWN. But then I found in the middle of life, because it's never over, you're never done creating your life. You're never done tweaking your recipe for happiness. So there I was at 56 years old, and I had this stunning realization that I had created and manifested a dream come true career, but not a dream come true life.
And,
I love that.
Yeah. And, that really is what, my book is about. That's what I'm talking about. I'm really having that conversation with myself that, okay, how do you begin when you say, I have this area of my life that's outstanding, and then I have a bunch of these other areas that are gathering dust on the shelf. And it began with really having to ask myself some hard questions, like, do you want the life of your dreams? Do you want the life of your dreams? Do you even know what that is anymore? It's been so long since you took the time to do some real dreaming.
Right. Wow. And so we've got this masterful book, The Beautiful No, and Other Tales of Trial, Transcendence, and Transformation. Sheri, it's not just your story. I want to make this clear. The book that you've written is not just about you. It's about me. It's about Brandis. It's about every single woman who has touched any one of these moments where we are chasing our story. We're ultimately chasing our story. We're chasing the life we deserve. We're chasing our dreams. We're asking ourselves the hard questions. We're laughing at ourselves. We're crying. We're judging ourselves. We're convicting ourselves. You take us on this wave of exploration, and you start with yourself. And I love that you do that. Even, Sheri, when you dove into chasing beauty and you talked about having plastic surgery, and as you talk through the story of it, of the expectation of going through and getting something that would ultimately turn you into something more than you were when you already were beautiful. I just found so much value in that because it points back to every single one of us and how we pursue. We don't necessarily, and I think misery was still the compass at that point, right? Is it safe to say a part of you?
Well, I mean, yes, I was still stirring that pot of chasing remedies. So, so it's like, okay, I'm working out, but the weight's not coming off fast enough. All right, somebody else had some liposuction. They look pretty good. Let me go talk to a plastic surgeon who, in fairness to him, told me liposuction is not a weight loss strategy. But of course, I was not willing to hear that but you are sucking pounds out, right? So yes, it might not be a strategy, but it sounds pretty good to me. And yeah, so it was, and it's that thing that some of us can fall into, that pattern where we think something outside of ourselves, somebody's program, some certain diet, some certain this or that is going to bring us the happiness that can only be found from within. I've heard it all. I've met every expert. And what I realize is meeting the experts, reading the expert books, what that's supposed to be is research, not putting on somebody else's suit of clothes. It's supposed to be research. And in the end, I still have to do the work of putting together my own formula and my own recipe for the life of my dreams. And I can use Deepak and Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil and Marianne Williamson and Iyanla and all the rest as research.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And choose the things that work for me. And so that's what I'm in the process of doing. And, it's definitely a game changer. It definitely is a game changer because what you're acknowledging to the universe is, this is in my hands, and I'm co-creating this with the force.
And how often do we look at someone else's story or look at what's worked for someone else and say, you know what, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to do that. And then when we do it and it doesn't work, or we do it and we quit, we're like, now what's next? Instead of looking at what they do as research. That's so good. So, great girlfriends, we were talking to Sheri before we started recording, and as Sybil and I were on the flight to South Africa, literally we would get up from each other's seat and go to the other and say, wait, have you gotten to chapter 4 yet? Have you gotten to chapter 5 yet? Because this book is you're reading it and you're seeing everything. It's like you're reading a movie script. And so what we both were so shocked about, I don't know, I read a lot. I don't know the last book I've read that has been this transparent. I don't even know. I was trying to think, have I ever read a book that was this completely transparent? And that's why I said to you, it felt like therapy for me, because you were so incredibly honest about everything, that it felt like, okay, it made me start looking at myself. And so, Sheri, what in the world gave you the courage, like, to be this? I never read a book this transparent before.
Oh my gosh. Okay, now you're scaring me a little. Oh my gosh.
It's amazing. No, but that's what makes it like a page turner. That's what made it like, we can't put this down. Like, instead of watching one of the 30 movies they had in the seat in front of us, we were both glued to this book reading it.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can credit the two of you, Sybil and Brandis, because here's how you are connected to my being so candid. You guys were the inspiration for Nancy and I to launch our podcast, The Sheri and Nancy Show. And I was kind of, I was a TV girl. I was a little bit like, podcast, schmodcast. And of course, I was quickly schooled, realizing it is the most powerful platform on the planet, hands down. And I got that very quickly. But, Nancy and I would sit down in my house, have these amazing conversations. I'm just sitting there talking to my girlfriend of 30 years, spilling the beans, chitty-chatting away. And something about that process of podcasting, it just released me of shame. I felt like I had to have it all together. Like, gosh, when you work for Oprah for 20 years, you should have it down pat. But, it released me of shame, just talking about it and talking about it, going through the areas of my life and talking about it. So when I finally began to, put my stories on paper, and, I'd go back and read something and I'd be like, is that how you really feel about that? What do you think is really true about that? And it was a gentle coaxing myself out of shame and out of disappointment and some despair, with a tender voice. Instead of that harsh, critical voice that we all have, I took that tender voice and said, come on, girl, out into the light. Let's go. There's nothing to be afraid of. And so the fact that landed on you that way makes me feel very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you talked about in the book, speaking to ourselves with the same voice that we would give to a friend, that tender voice, it reminded me to be kind to myself and to give myself permission to be imperfect in the presentation, and to not have to have everything in place, and to have a catastrophe like you talked about on this Post-it note, that I can laugh at it from afar, and I can kind of, I'm not even say laugh, but I can chuckle to read. And you said, it's a Thursday morning, 100 pounds overweight, no man in sight, and rounding the bend to 57 years old, a full-blown catastrophe. I can chuckle from afar because I know that you're not that, and I can see you on the other side of your catastrophe. But to have such a raw and vulnerable, honest, imperfect moment in front of the world, that moment of acknowledgement gave us all permission to do the same thing. And so I think what you talk about so powerfully, what podcasting has done for you, and even having those conversations with Nancy, is the vulnerability that comes from us telling an honest story and what it does to serve other people. because it's a service to yourself, but it's also a service to the millions of people that will read the book, the millions of people that are listening to your podcast, the people that have always seen and admired you from afar from your Oprah days and now have an understanding of what you sacrificed to have the dream career, what you gave up for that. So there's
how I used it to avoid really diving into the other areas of my life where I did have dreams. We often default to the things we're good at. I mean, no surprise, right? We often default to the things where we know we won't be humiliated or embarrassed or where we won't fail. And it's walking into those other areas that, listen, I'm still working on it. I'm still calling myself forward, saying, nothing to be afraid of here. Come on. There is, once you write that Post-it note and share it with the world, 100 pounds overweight, no man in sight, rounding the bend to 57 years old, there's really not much more to go beyond that.
Right.
You've pretty much laid it out there. So, So and honestly, there's no question that my own soul made me do it. My own soul made me share that so I could see that there is nothing to be afraid of here. We all have our stuff. We all have our stuff. Nobody's life is an Instagram account. Nobody's life is just true. All their pretty pictures. Nobody's.
Yeah. Sheri, how do you see yourself? How did you see yourself before writing the book, your superpower, the woman you are, and how do you see yourself now?
I would say before writing the book, let's say this, in my former life, working 80 hours a week plus and really, singularly dedicated, let me put it that way. I would say that, I chose the areas of my life where I wanted to be conscious. And the areas where I didn't want to be conscious, I absolutely deliberately remained oblivious and unconscious. And I would say that through the process, the book is really about the beginning of a new way of living for me, and the beginning of a real commitment to, number one, radical self-care, knowing that was always my recipe for a joyride. And I could have done it at any time I was working, 80 or 90 hours a week, because there were hours in the day when I was vegging out in front of the TV, eating too much pizza and drinking too much Chardonnay. So I had plenty of time to meditate and to move my body and to prepare my plant predominant meals and to be mindful and tender and gentle and to do some dreaming and to do some visualizing. All those things can still fit into a very, very busy life. Let's not kid ourselves when you really look at how you spend your time. Now I would say, what the book did for me and what it continues to do for me as we have these conversations is these conversations remind me about the kind of life I want for myself. And I have all the information I need about what the practices are in my life to live that life that I want for myself. I want to be an uplifter. I want to surround myself with other uplifters. I want to know that with each choice I make, and not perfectly by any means, but with each choice I make, I'm leaning in the direction of my own happiness and my own joyride.
We'll be right back after these messages. What's up, great girlfriends? Who else has tried FabFitFun? If you don't already know about it, it's a seasonal box with full-size beauty, fitness, and lifestyle products. The box I received is epic. Each season's box features a variety of amazing quality brands like Tarte, Kate Somerville, Anthropologie, Free People, Dr. Brandt, and that's just the beginning of it. Don't miss out because they sell out super fast. Check out www.fabfitfun.com and use the code GREAT That's GREAT, so you can save $10 off of your first box, making it only $39.99. Again, that's fabfitfun.com and use the code GREAT. You deserve to treat yourself. Enjoy!
Hulis Market, a brand new shopping experience built just for you. From the best books, soothing aromatics, vegan-based hygiene, organic skincare products, and more, Hulis Market has the essentials you need. Discover, shop, and share the best products all in one place. And all of these products were created by outstanding brands of color. From now until the end of May, visit www.hulismarket.com and use code TGG20 at checkout to enjoy 20% off select products just for being a great girlfriend. Shop Hulis Market today. And this is very special because the co-founder of Hulis Market is the better half of our co-founder, Sybil Amuti of the Great Girlfriends. So shop and enjoy.
That's so good.
It's kind of like a pre-pillar life and a post-pillar life.
Right.
Absolutely. Because you're actually living out the pillars of the pillar life, and it has made you see you in a different way and give you options that you would have never explored before.
Oh, that is for sure. And the pillars. So just to be clear for your listeners, one of the chapters in the book, I write about how Nancy, my podcast co-host and friend of 30 years, literally moved into my house for a year with her dog Percy, and we committed to creating the lives of our dreams together. And we came up with these 8 pillars of our lives. We developed a guidance system for ourselves because both she and I can slide down the cheese and wine, highway in about 2 seconds. And and that turned into our business. Then we're like, okay, we'll do a digital platform and see if anybody else is interested in this. And then we'll do this. Then we'll talk about it on our podcast. So it was very much something we created together. And yes, it's like, oh my God, I have years of information. I took notes from all those experts. I had a front row seat to the most inspiring, voices in health and spirituality and relationships, in design and beauty, all across the board. And I feel like finally what I decided is I'm not just going to intellectualize it and I'm not just going to take notes about it. I'm going to, in every moment of my life, I'm really going to root this into my life and live it. And some days I'm just terrible at it. Some days it's like, what? You forgot everything. It's 4 o'clock. When's your meditation? Oh my God, did you get, it's like, and then I say, all right, just do, what's the one thing you can do right now? And I'll go have a big, gigantic glass of filtered water with lemon. And then I'm like, back on track. I'm back on track.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
It's all those little things, guys. All those little things change how you feel. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we think we're doing ourselves a service. I feel like we think we're doing ourselves a favor by beating ourselves up. Like we're giving ourselves justice. Brandis, you were on that diet and you just ate a thing of French fries. What were you thinking? Now, instead of being gentle with ourselves and saying, let's just go have a big thing of water, filtered water.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, just get back on where you can, and stop trying to make up for what you didn't do. Yeah,
that's right. It's contagious. You just say, let me just do one thing that I know works, and then you'll be inspired to do the second thing, and the third thing, and the fourth thing, and it's kind of like understanding this. I think when I was in my 20s, I thought I needed to build a big, sexy, fat resume. Then I think maybe in my 30s, I needed to build that career and make money and continue the outward trappings of success. And all of that's fine, and I stayed in that lane probably a snoot too long, but all of those things are fine. But when I could step back and look back at all of it, what I was not tapping into, what I didn't totally understand was the end game was always happiness. The end game was happiness, not those things. Those things I thought would bring happiness. The end game, the goal, the destination, the path, the road is happiness. And when you make that your compass and you make that, you understand in every moment of the day, this is about happiness, this is about a joyride, it really changes how you approach your day in and day out life.
Right.
Absolutely.
And how and when we're that kind to each other, it's like then we can actually share that same kindness with other people.
Yeah.
It's like you mentioned in the book, it's like putting your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
Well, listen, that is for sure. And years ago, Cheryl Richardson came on the Oprah show and gave us that example. You got to take care of yourself. But, I think there's, and this is very much about hopefully a fading cultural norm that is slowly dissolving with each new generation, that women are supposed to put everybody else first. Their employers first, their kids first, their mates first, their friends first, their communities first. You just volunteer until you're filled with resentment and you're ready to drop on the ground. But that's over.
That's going to hit somebody like a thing of rocks. Like, yes. I know people who do that every weekend.
That's right.
Every moment of their weekend is filled with volunteer and sorority and this organization and that. They're spending no time on themselves.
And you feel like you should. There's guilt. There's and isn't it interesting that never before have we had bigger conversations about stress, anxiety, panic attacks, all that kind of stuff. And the truth is, when you are focused on radical self-care and your own happiness, I mean, that is really, at the end of the day, we all want to contribute to the world, but it isn't outside of ourselves. And it isn't about just writing a check, and it isn't about just the number of hours you volunteer. Your contribution to the world is your own happiness. Your own happiness spilling outside of your door affects dozens and dozens and dozens of people. And they affect dozens and dozens of people. I mean, that really is your most significant energetic contribution to yourself and to the world. And I think of all the times when, I was so riddled in stress and unwilling to do the good things that could have helped me manage it. And I'm like, oh my God, I was just spewing that stress out. It was coming out of my pores every which way. What serves the world better, my happiness or my anxiety? And, the answer is very obvious about that.
Right.
But what's so powerful, Sheri, is that when you have the courage to stand up for your quality of life and what you deserve, you start to see everything around you change. And it's like when you have that awakening, and you had a reckoning in your book, and you talk about the realizations that you came to, it's where you got honest with what wasn't right, and you decided to stand up for what was right, what you did deserve, what your happiness could look like. I think your world started to wrap itself around your standards. And I think for women, the more we start to stand up for what we know we deserve and what belongs to us, the more we start to see the rising tide of change in our lives and in our families, our relationships, because we start to look for different things out of those areas. And so, like for you, you took those days and you went and you were in at this, I want to call it a retreat, where you were phoneless and without technology. You guys were eating air and detoxing and sort of cleansing. Do you feel like having those moments of reset have helped you to kind of reformulate or get clarity in your mind around what what you want and what you do want to set the ground for in your life?
Well, what you're talking about is when I went to the desert to detox, daily colonics, a supervised fast for like 8 days. And that was an extreme measure that was very necessary because I needed a clearing. I needed a moment of physical and emotional and mental clearing so I could have some kind of beginning of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And that was like, okay, I'm worn out. I'm stressed out. I don't have the body I want. I don't have the love life I want. But whoop-de-woo, I've had this dreamy career. And then and then it was like, what do you want? Well, I really want the life of my dreams. So the professional accomplishments and the great love and the health and wellness and that feeling of well-being. Okay, here's what I really wanted. This is a better way to say it. I wanted to know that I could trust myself. I wanted to know that I could trust myself to have my own back, to take care of myself, to continue to evolve my life, to continue to be an uplifter and be uplifted. I wanted to be that trustworthy steward of my own well-being. And when I left the desert, there was enough of a clearing that I could really see that. Now this is a couple years later. On a day-to-day basis, what really works for me is making sure that I am daydreaming every day as a very tangible, powerful practice. You can get so caught up in the routine of life. Do, blue, 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 run here, do there. Then I got to do this. I mean, listen, I work for myself now and I still do that. I got 50 emails to answer. Then I have this call, I have this meeting. But it's like, okay, when am I daydreaming today? Just 10 minutes. What do I care about? Let me pick an area of my life. Oh, let me stir up some possibilities and some dreams there. Just to keep myself in that creative building mode of revisioning, re-strategizing, reimagining that beautiful, that's where the magic is. That's where the magic of my new life is in that practice.
Wow, I love that. And we don't spend enough time on daydreaming, but the value of it is that it takes our mind and our vision into places, realms of possibility that we don't tend to live in on a daily basis. And I hear that. You said it was a clearing. And even even the idea of wanting to trust ourselves with the stewardship. Most of us can honestly say we don't trust ourselves because we know our bad habits. But having the confidence to go after the trust, that builds an inner relationship that can't be torn by, bad decisions and negative talk and all of the circumstances that we sort of impose or life imposes on us. So, Sheri, you continue to just overwhelm us and blow our minds with perspective. All that shapes the book so beautifully and your life so beautifully. But I want to know from you, if you had to pick a favorite chapter or a favorite piece of the book, which one would be the most powerful for you?
Gosh, that's a good question. Well, the most difficult for me to write was the chapter I wrote about my brother's sudden death. And I was executive producing the Oprah show at the time. And the reason why it was one of the last chapters, I just couldn't do it. I'd sit down, I'd be like, oh, got to pay some bills. Okay, I'll put that off. Oh, let's go and, clean out the bathtub or the garage. Or I wanted to do everything but sit down and write about John's death. But the reason why it was so powerful for me to actually do it, with my busy job, I was able to kind of put on ice my grief and power through, because I had to take care of everybody else's grief and survival as if I could, number one, which obviously that's impossible. But I was in survival mode for me and my family for a long time on that. And, right back in my executive producer chair. And it was only when I wrote this story and really walked through, from the morning that I got the news, right through like those first couple weeks that I'd never really revisited, was I able to see, oh, I'm so frozen. There's a part of me that's just frozen. I'm just frozen because I have such fear that if I really go and feel what that was and feel the details and the moments of that I just might not live through it. I might not survive it. And it became really clear that, wow, you have just added a big suitcase to your emotional baggage.
Wow.
And you're not going to have the life of your dreams, my friend, I said to myself, unless you are willing to really sit there and feel the feelings of what was a catastrophic event in my life. Absolutely catastrophic. So that was, it was such a healing for me to write the chapter, to face it, to process it. And I really did get that knowing out of that, whenever, what you're most scared of is what will set you free. Let me put it that way. What you're most scared to feel is what will set you free. And I did leave that processing going, okay, I can feel the iron curtain melting. I can feel the ice melting. I can feel like, okay, I've gone back to every bit of it and I'm still here.
Wow.
That chapter was so powerful. I remember the part in that when you were the one who had to go tell your parents. And as you're kind of walking through that story, like, I'm feeling all of that as the reader. I'm feeling your pain. I'm feeling kind of like it's you're walking me through this journey that then allows me to reflect on, a personal situation when someone passed that was like one of the most catastrophic things that ever happened in my life. Yeah. And so thank you for being willing to even face that chapter, because again, this book is like therapy. It really is, because it just allows the reader to go into their own lives and to reflect on some things and to work through some things. So, Sheri, I don't know if you know what you've done with this book, but I don't know if you know what you've done.
Nice.
But
so nice
it's I think for women, it's going to set a lot of women free just reading this book. I can't wait to hear about the book clubs that are going to happen around this. And
oh my gosh.
The tiers and the groups that are going to be formed around the Beautiful No. I can see the Beautiful No groups all around the world.
Oh my
where women
gosh.
finally get together and share things that they've never shared with anyone because you had the courage to write your story in this book.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Brandis, thank you so much. That, that is, I have tears in my eyes. That is, I'm only really talking to myself. I'm not a therapist. I'm not even a teacher. I'm a world-class student though. And what I say is this: it's the conversation I need to have. They're the stories that I need to read and remind myself of, that it's never too late to live the life of your dreams. But if not now, when are you going to do it? And even for me, that other parentheses is, and if not now, maybe never. And it was that if not now, maybe never, that really grabbed me, at a soul level, like, really? All the things, all the transformation you've produced in your life, and you're not going to produce your own transformation? Come on. Come on. This we get this. We get this life, this canvas to paint on, this thing to create, and all the tools are around us and available to us to create something really beautiful. And if we're not feeling happy and if we're not feeling joy, there's a new story we need to write, and it's possible. So that's what I remind myself of every day. It's a work in progress, and but I know that is, there is no substitute for the life of my dreams. There's just no substitute for it.
Oh, wow.
Sheri, do you mind?
Not now, maybe never. Wow.
Yeah, it's not right. Exactly. This part that is so powerful that I'd love, if you don't mind, if I just read this for our listeners. This is the last part. It's in the chapter, Your Last 3 Days on Earth. And I read this over and over and over because I'm going through my own personal elder care and attention to my parents, et cetera. And this was such a delivery for me. And I love this part. You're speaking about your mom and your mom's last 3 days. And as you go forward, and I'm just going to read from this part, you said we are all of us heading toward the same seat on the couch. How are we setting ourselves up for our departure? Can we bring to the days we have left an exquisite, mad love before we run out of them? That's what I want to know for myself. My middle of life quest has given me the insight at just exactly how I've misspent a multitude of mine. On far too many occasions, I surrendered a portion of my allotted time to the false notion that I had one whit of control over others' lives, others' happiness, letting people's situations and circumstances just happen to me rather than deliberately choosing them, treating so many days like, who cares? There's plenty more where those came from. But if I awaken tomorrow, I get another chance to to cherish each breath as I stay in my own happy lane, to release what does not belong to me with loving kindness, to place my hands on my heart and murmur my thank yous over and over again. With each new sunrise, another shot at my mighty dream quest. What will I do with what I know now, with what I saw from the river's edge? What will I do with my mother's last and greatest teaching? And then you went on to say she would want me to tell you this story. And Sheri, I think about her legacy and your brother's legacy and your legacy and how you reflect everything that could have ever been intended out of the days and the life that they both gave, that you have, that you're now giving to others. That legacy is so alive. And I just can't help but salute you and your mother and John and the time that you dedicated to this story. It is just powerful beyond control. It can't be stopped.
Yeah, well, she nudged me to write it. There's no question about it. She totally nudged me to write it. And she nudged me to write it exactly that way. So I know it's a big one. It was a big one for me.
Wow. You did it, Sheri. You did it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, my great girlfriends. Oh, my great girlfriends. Well, my feet are wings. My feet are wings.
Oh my goodness. You did it and you do it. And we're so proud. I feel like we're proud moms. We're super, super proud and we are so excited. And I think for our great girlfriend community, shoot us an email. We've got some books set aside, right, Brandis, that we want to be able to give out to the first few that send us an email. We want everyone to have their hands on this book. It's so powerful. And if you want to start some conversations in our Facebook community, we welcome you. Sheri, where can they find you? I know they're going to want to email you, maybe not, but where can they DM you?
Oh, yeah. Well, at thebeautifulno.com, I'm cooking up right now a companion workbook that we're going to give away for free. And, of course, Nancy and I, every week, we do 2 episodes a week on the Sheri and Nancy show and on your favorite podcast platform. And, I've got all the channels at Sheri Salata. I'm chatting with people all the time out on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
I love it. Sheri, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I love you too.
Thank you
I love you so much. I love you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, great girlfriends, it's that time of year again. We're inviting you to join us for the 2019 Great Girlfriends Doers and Disruptors Conference, June 13th through 15th in New York City. Our 3-day event includes exciting receptions, life-changing panels, connections, masterminds, and more. This year, we had over 100 women from around the world connect with like-minded girlfriends and create incredible memories. Now it's your turn to be a part of this exclusive event. Visit our website, www.thegreatgirlfriendsconference.com, to grab a ticket for yourself and for your greatest girlfriend. We hope to see you there.
We could not end this podcast without thanking our amazing husbands.
Yes, thank you, Kwaku.
And thank you so much, Rich Daniel.
And our beautiful children, thank you, Sam and Dylan.
And thank you, Miss Sky Daniel.
And thank you to all of you great girlfriends for trusting us as your go-to source for everything life, love, and laughter.
You can check us out on our social, on Instagram,
The Great Girlfriends,
on Twitter,
_greatGFS,
and on Facebook,
The Great Girlfriends.
And please make sure that you join our Facebook group, which is over 16,000 women strong.
Absolutely. And make sure you listen every single Wednesday on iTunes, Spotify, Podcast Bean, Podcast Republic, Google Play, and every other podcasting service.
Absolutely.
Be sure to post your questions, share with your friends, keep listening, and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're signing off.
Peace.
Peace.